Welcome to Predator Minute, the podcast that breaks down the 1987 action sci-fi classic Predator 1 minute at a time. I'm John Zabriskie.
I am Jeff Glover.
And today we're talking minute 75. If we're talking 75th anniversary, that's either the gold or the diamond anniversary. I feel like diamond was a while back, but I think by the time you hit 75, some things like you're just kind of throwing whatever valuable thing you can at it. Gold, diamond, platinum, I don't know, space dust.
Toilet paper.
Yeah, we're past the paper and the wood, aren't we?
we're far past. We're much into. We're further along into longer lasting things.
Well, yeah. What diamond thing did you give me, John? I'm waiting patiently.
Toilet flush sound effect in the background added. Flush.
I got you your own personal roll of my thin toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
I got you a new right arm.
Oh, timely reference.
He's going to be all right.
Yeah. Right arm.
Well, how are things going over there in quarantine land, Mr. Zabriskie?
Hey, not too bad. Not too bad. Just doing a lot of barbecuing lately and spending a lot more time with the kiddos. How about you?
Yeah, same here. 12 of our 13 listeners out there. I hope you guys are doing well. And I do, to be honest, I really do hope that anyone who enjoys our podcast, among many other podcasts I'm sure you enjoy, I hope that you can listen to this and get a little break from reality while you take care of your family. So, yeah, thank you to all the Predator Minute listeners out there.
Yeah, thank you. That's funny you should mention that. Thanking the listeners. I agree. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the listenership and the participation when you're able. But on my SoundCloud account, I'm able to see how many times each episode has been listened to. And just in the last couple of weeks, we passed 10,000 listens for all of our combined episodes on SoundCloud. So thank you so much, listeners.
Right.
Yeah.
Good job, us.
Yeah, good job, us. I don't know what the iTunes numbers look like because every time I use the iTunes data, it says it's in beta mode. So I don't really know what to trust there.
It's a Mac.
Mac.
It's a Mac Windows issue, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit that I've been looking forward to jumping back on the microphone with you during this time because it gives me a nice little break from reality, and I think we can probably record more of these, probably more frequently in the next couple weeks because. Frankly, I have the time if you do.
And some of my guest hopefuls have opened up too. So I'm really looking forward to having some guests on that we haven't had in the past.
Yeah. That'll be fun to look forward to down the road here. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, but let's dive into Predator Minute while we're at it. This is minute 75, as I mentioned before, which opens with Dillon awkwardly spinning to face the Predator, and it ends with Anna yelling to Dutch to give her the weapon.
Give her the weapon.
Give me the weapon.
Yeah, so we're carrying over from last minute here, and we see the final demise of Dillon.
Dixon.
Which we knew was going to happen at the end of last minute. We saw his arm fly off of his body and land on the ground with the gun still firing. A fantastic death scene. But that wasn't actually the death scene. This is the real death scene. This is the final moment of Dillon's life, unfortunately, for all of us. Dillon. Yeah. So should we get into it here? Should I take us through the first few seconds?
Yeah, take us through the action.
Action
Jackson. Oh, that's Dillon's next movie.
Carl Weathers is Action Jackson.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, we're breaking this minute up into two parts, as we often do. But the first part's just going to be really the end of Dillon's death, which is about the first 9 seconds of this minute. So we get Dillon. He's still turning
Dillon.
towards the predator, Dillon, with his remaining arm and his gun. And we cut back to the cloaked predator who's approaching Dillon. The predator extends his Wolverine-like claws. Pretty awesome to see. Yeah, shing. Cut back to Dillon, shoving his gun forward and squeezing off a couple rounds before the predator jabs him, lifts him off the ground, causing Dillon to scream in an extreme close-up.
And what a scream it is to be heard in the second part of our minute by the rest of the team, who must be at least a few hundred yards away. Who knows?
I love the Wolverine-esque claws that he pops out here. Mm-hmm. This is once again a new weapon that we haven't seen from the Predator, correct?
Correct. We haven't seen it, but we think we've seen its handiwork with Hawkins much earlier.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So we get this nice, like, double, it looks like two parallel claws. We assume sort of protruding from the back of his hand like some sort of gloved weapon. We get a nice slam into Dillon, and the shot of him like lifted up off the ground is really cool, I think. Mm-hmm. Because the special effects there are neat because you can't obviously see any wire work or anything. He just kind of comes up off the ground, and you see the cloaked predator behind him holding him up. Pretty gnarly.
Yeah, that's a good point about not seeing any strings or anything like that. How do you think they achieved that effect? Because John McTiernan is not really talking about it.
I think it must be some wire work. If I was to guess, maybe some, looking at it actually, when I'm kind of like frame by framing it right now. They never show the bottom of his feet.
Right.
Close. So it's possible that they had someone or something lifting him up there. But the way he kind of pops up looks to me like he's being lifted from his torso. So
okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm just sort of inclined to think that is maybe some wire work or harness work. And then the special effects team covers that up. But I could be wrong. There could be something below him that's like a platform or some people that are lifting him up. That's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have a hard time seeing him the way he's tilted, like to lift him up that way. It looks like he would lose his balance. But maybe that's just the camera.
Yeah, that might just be the camera with distorting everything with its angles.
Because the camera is tilted, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole scene just remains this mismatch. Whatever. The whole scene is made up of a lot of different angled camera shots, including Dillon's death scene until you see his face, which is, I think, straight on. It's level. Right.
Yeah, and that is pretty straightforward. And he's got that bloody mouth, blood on the teeth. Mm-hmm. He's just spit up blood. Pretty gnarly.
Yeah, and speaking of blood, they could have gone really, really bloody here and probably still kept their R rating. But John McTiernan is, I'm slurring all over the place. Sorry.
Have another beer, my friend.
That'll straighten it out. It's like amnesia.
You gotta come over the other end of the curve and come back down to normal.
Flatten the curve.
Flatten the curve. Yeah. Drink more, flatten the curve. Isn't that how it works?
That is how it works. But I think the point I was trying to make was they could have made this all sorts of bloody, but John McTiernan, the director, did a great job of editing around. Good Lord. This thing is not going to get off the ground. Okay. He does a great job of editing the different shots together to tell you exactly what is happening here without having to show you. And you feel, I believe, just as visceral as if you saw all the blood and guts, with specifically the blades coming out, Dillon's close-up, and then right after Dillon's close-up of his face, you see his bare abdomen, his bare chest, essentially providing a meaty target for the Predator to jab those Wolverine-like claws in and lift him up. I just can't imagine. That'd be so painful. Dillon died a painful death.
He really did. Like, having the arm cut off, put your body into trauma, into shock. And then you're right. When he spins and we get that very, very quick shot of his like sweaty chest.
Right.
It's very, very fast. But as soon as we get the next image of the predator lifting him off the ground, we know exactly what happened, because that shot is meant to imply that, hey, there's his opening. That's exactly where the predator is going to aim his Wolverine claws. Yeah, it was. I am surprised. We get a gory dismembering of his arm, but when it comes to the stabbing of him, they leave that to the imagination. And the part of me that loves gory deaths feels cheated. But I agree with what you said. Like, it's sometimes less is more, and this is a case where leaving it to the imagination almost makes it worse, because you have to think about what that actually looked and felt like.
Yeah. And later on, next minute, we're going to hear more and see even less from Billy and his own demise.
Yeah. This really does officially mark the end of Dillon, correct?
Dillon.
So, is this an appropriate time for rest in peace Limerick?
Yeah, for the purpose of this movie and this podcast, let's just assume he's dead now.
Yeah, I think we have to.
Yeah, he's definitely armless, and I think his corpse or his body will soon be lifeless.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Title: Dillon. His muscles bulge through his white linen shirt. He lies about, operations covert. But laser blasts abound. His arm falls to the ground.
Whoa.
And now his hand only shakes the cold dirt.
Wow. Holy God, that's your best one so far.
Really? Oh.
That's easily the best one so far. You brought the whole thing full circle. You talked about the handshake at the beginning, and then you talk about his hand only shaking the cold dirt now, and you remember that he had a linen shirt. You weren't even there for that minute. That's crazy. Son of a bitch.
Character arc full circle. That's what we do around here.
Oh my gosh, I would stand up and applaud, but I'm
bowing. I'm bowing. Thank you.
Yeah. That was amazing.
Oh, well, rest in peace, Dillon.
You son of a bitch.
Gonna miss you.
Gonna miss you, Dillon. Before we dive into maybe favorite lines of Dillon, I just want a quick shout out to the score again. I love referencing the score because when things like this happen, where you're not maybe showing a lot of the blood and the guts here, especially in this last couple. Specifically with Dillon's death here and Billy's death next minute, I feel like the score is working really well in conjunction with what's happening on screen and then with what's happening off screen. With Dillon's score, his track continues. His track, remember, is titled "Dillon is Disarmed."
Right.
Yeah. And as the Predator is approaching him, we have this very Raiders of the Lost Ark flourish, I feel, like this. As opposed to hyper scary, intense music, it's much more it still has this air of mystery about it when the Predator is approaching him to stab him.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was watching the minute over and over again, that actually came to my mind, and then I read your notes on that, and you mentioned Raiders, and I was like, oh my God. You're absolutely right. It felt familiar to me, and you nailed it. That's absolutely the same type of sound. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think specifically of the scene when the Nazis open the Lost Ark at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the spirits are all floating around and nobody knows what's going to happen. I'm actually watching the scene right now, and they have a very similar horn crescendo that maybe Alan Silvestri is copying right here from John Williams.
Yeah, maybe.
But it helps. I don't know. It helps add something to the movie. I couldn't say what. Maybe this crazy unbelievable things still happening right in front of Dillon's eyes, I suppose.
Yeah, well, it's music that invokes that feeling, right? Like same with Raiders and same with this. It's a sense of dread. It's also a sense of unknown, and it's hard to describe music over a podcast, right? But if you watch this scene and listen to it, you'll know what we're saying. Like it invokes a very specific feeling, and it's always impressive to me when a composer or someone in charge of finding a good score for a film can find that perfect piece of music to match the film, and that happens over and over again in this movie, and I think this is a good example.
I think so, yeah, and I feel like it's been a strong characteristic of this movie throughout the whole film.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's talk a little bit about Dillon. Do you have a favorite Dillon line or a favorite Dillon moment?
Well, my favorite Dillon line has to be target the center of the palapa.
Target the center of the palapa.
Target the center of the palapa.
Targets the center of the palapa.
It's I love it because it's so nonsensical, and and we've referenced it over and over again in this show.
Targets the center of the palapa.
And when I think about early lines from Dillon in the first kind of 1/3 of the movie, it's always what comes to mind. So it may not be the best, but I think it's my favorite. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have a favorite Dillon moment or line?
Man, I I like so much about Dillon, even though he's clearly he's clearly an antagonist throughout the first part of the movie or throughout the first act. But I really like act. I guess some Hall of Fame lines are when he is face to face with Dutch in the guerrilla camp Palapa, and he's having that back and forth. He's saying, he says, "Look, we just stopped a major invasion. In 3 days, they would have been across the border with this stuff." And then he says, "Why us?" And Dillon answers, "Because nobody else could have pulled this off. You're pissed about the cover story. I knew I couldn't get here. I knew I couldn't get you in here without it. Look, we've been looking for this place for months. My men were in that chopper. That's what I like." He says, "My men were in that chopper when it got hit."
Yes,
he really,
my men were in that chopper.
My men were in that chopper when it got hit.
Yeah, my men were in that chopper. Hopper's orders were to go in and get my men, and they disappeared.
He didn't disappear. He was skinned alive.
My orders were to get somebody in to crack these bastards, and then you always chime in. You go crack.
Crack.
He says, "I woke up. Why don't you? You're an asset, an expendable asset, and I used you to get the job done."
Yeah, that's kind of the first real like conflict that him and Dutch play out, right? Like when they're Dillon's suspicions, or excuse me, Dutch's suspicions of Dillon kind of come to a head, and they actually air out their grievances to one another. That's kind of the first time. That's a good moment. That's a good pivotal moment in their kind of story arc, their friendship in this film.
Yeah, it's like, the first of two major twists in the movie.
Yeah.
I would say is learning that the team is not actually on a rescue assignment. They're on just kind of like cleanup detail, or I don't know, data extraction.
Right.
Versus rescuing hostages. Like, we're not assassins.
We're not assassins.
We're a rescue team. We're not assassins.
We're a rescue team, not assassins.
So I really like that exchange, but it's hard for me to pick between my men were in that chopper and the very first line from Dillon, which is, "'Cause some damn fool accused you of being the best."
Because some damn fool accused you of being the best.
Yeah, that was the other. I was mulling over. Like I love that the first scene, of course, in the first,
and that starts the handshake.
Yeah, and the handshake, of course, and you push too many pencils, and I like that whole scene where they introduce or they reunite with one another is classic and great too. But yeah, it's hard to choose, man. Hard to choose.
Yeah, like
target
looking
the
at his lines.
Palapa. Yeah,
he's target the center of the palapa.
Targets the center of the palapa.
It's the only time we hear the word palapa in the film. I feel like Dillon adds a lot of lore to, or he has a lot of background information to the characters that we just don't know if he's not there. He's telling us things about Dutch and his team. He's telling us about the operation. Without him, you're just kind of on this maybe rescue mission, and they're trying to escape, and you're not knowing a whole lot else about the team.
Yeah, he's an important part of this story, and without it, you miss out on a whole emotional level to them being trapped in the jungle, and yeah. So although our feelings about the character Dillon are mixed, we will miss his addition to the story. Absolutely. Well, should we get into the second half here?
Yeah, let's dive into the second half. Let's talk about picking up at about minute 10. Our second 10.
Second 10, yeah. We'll do second 10 all the way to the end of the minute because we really kind of catch up with the rest of the team here. And we cut to Billy, Anna, Panchito, and Dutch, and they're crossing a large log above a ravine. And I want to talk about this a little bit. And then they turn, they hear Dillon scream and some gunfire. Dillon! They resume their walking. Panchito's grunting the whole way. And then Billy inexplicably stays on the log, throws down his gun, takes off his vest and his shirt. Dutch and Pancho continue on after Anna, and Billy rips the talisman necklace off of his neck, gripping it tightly. And then we cut back to Dutch and Pancho moving along, and then a close-up of Billy's face, and then his machete as he pulls it out. And then we cut back again to Anna climbing ahead of the other guys and asking Dutch for his weapon.
Dame el arma. Dame el arma. Give me the weapon.
Whew. So,
Yeah.
this is the rest of the team kind of escaping the place they were just in the jungle. And we'll get to the different beats of this, but I want to start with this log that they're crossing over the ravine. This is a very cool shot. And I wanted to ask you made mention this in the notes. Do you think this is a matte painting background right here?
Yeah, I totally think this is some kind of composite shot. And as I'm watching it over and over, starting about second 12 and going to second 14, you have this giant log, which in my notes states that this is a concrete log that the production crew created for the movie. It's used
which
later
is
on.
Crazy because that looks like a real log. Like that's
looks like
impressive.
A real log.
Yeah.
You have to imagine though, like would they actually send millions of dollars worth of talent? I'm talking about Schwarzenegger here, across this log, right? Just a natural log that could have slippery spots and whatnot.
Yeah, I just mean like it's very realistic looking. Like they did
very realistic.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I saw the facts about it too, but it weighed so many tons of concrete. I think it's a composite shot. I think there's something weird going on under it. Above it, I think that's all natural jungle with the green and the trees. But under it, I mean, you're looking at like what looks like a hugely steep ravine. You're looking at some water effects in the background that honestly remind me a little bit about like Chrono Trigger, Super Nintendo kind of water effects.
Yeah.
Where it's like, here's the palette of blue, and we'll make sure the water sparkles by making like a white pixel blink off and on in the water.
Yeah, and they barely blink. Like everything is pretty stationary when you look at it, actually.
yeah, it looks totally artificial under the log, but I think they composited that by matting under the log and putting the real stuff on top. Like even like if you look at the jungle trees under the log compared to above the log, they look different.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'll be honest, I got very excited about the shot because I love matte painting shots from the 80s. Like one of my favorite movies of all time, The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, has some gorgeous matte paintings in the opening sequence when the helicopter's coming in. And I think this is whether it's a matte painting or something that like a blue or green screen that's going on, whatever they've done, although you can kind of tell that it's like maybe superimposed, it's gorgeous. Like I think it's extremely well done. You don't get that weird. Sometimes, with like cheaper movies, you can tell when characters are standing in front of a green screen. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, and it just like takes you out of the film, and that does not happen here. Like I'm able to pause the film and look at it and just enjoy and admire the cinematography here of this shot, this what seems to be a composition, and also like it's also very believable. Like it looks really, really good. So
are you looking at it right now?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so I have a theory because I know this log is made out of concrete. I don't think this concrete log is spanning the whole ravine or whatever they're doing here. I think it's, to me, if I'm tracing like the lines under the log, it almost forms this tree trunk under the log itself heading downward. If you kind of like see all the downward angles from kind of this middle of the log, starting at the roots and going to almost the whole left of the log, where there's like a little branch broken off the bottom of the log on the left side of the log. Yeah. It's almost like they're trying to hide like some kind of support under the log with the matte painting. If you see what I mean, like
I see.
To me, it looks like
I
see it.
It almost looks like some kind of like trunk is made up under the log to support it, but they matted over it somehow. But still all the same. I love that movie magic matte painting way more than any kind of CGI will ever do.
Yeah, I love it. Like and the Raiders or Indiana Jones movies are famous for some great matte paintings.
Yes.
And so I really enjoyed seeing this shot here. I almost wish it was just they lingered on it a little bit longer, because it goes by in about 3 seconds. And it really
a lot of work for 3 seconds. Yeah,
I know. It's a cool, very gorgeous shot. So when you get to minute 75 and about 15 seconds, pause the film, boys and girls, and just admire that great wide shot of the jungle. Yeah, very cool. I love that movie magic.
Yeah.
So then after they cross the log here, if you have no more to add about the log.
No.
We see the rest of the team kind of moving along, as I mentioned, and we cut back to Billy. What the hell is Billy doing here, John?
What's got Billy so spooked?
Jeez, man, I don't know. He's stripping down. He's really going as macho as he can.
He throws his gun away.
He throws his gun. He throws the pack first, which who knows who knows what was ever in that, and he takes off his vest. Like, okay, this is the real deal. He pulls off the talisman, holds it in one hand, and pulls out his machete and holds it in the other.
Machete.
I understand that he's upset here and perhaps wants to get revenge on what he realizes has just happened. But I don't understand throwing your gun down into the ravine.
I don't understand either.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't. Maybe he just feels like I'm going to go fight this thing, like beast to beast, animal to animal. I don't know, but the Predator's not throwing his laser cannon down the ravine. So I don't know what Billy's doing. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and I'll talk more about a little bit of background, what could be going through Billy's head next minute.
Yeah.
Because I found a cool little side comic I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
But this is the first time I've ever noticed that he has the talisman in the same hand as the machete. I don't know why I never noticed that before. I thought he had them in separate hands. But no, he wraps up the talisman in the right hand. And he pulls the machete out with his right hand. So he's kind of holding both with one hand. I thought that was interesting. Like maybe to him, the talisman was supposed to give him some kind of extra power or power to his machete.
Machete.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either. But that he reaches for his machete and there it is wrapped around his hand. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What did you say was in the talisman before? Like a little porno mag or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Just a little, some material. Just a little.
He likes the articles.
He reads it for the articles, but you gotta tuck a little away for his quiet alone time. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, Billy's got a jacket every once in a while, like everybody else.
Yeah.
So maybe that's giving him power now.
Oh, Billy.
Oh, man.
Billy.
So, we'll talk more about this next minute when we catch back up with him, but clearly he has thrown aside all of his resources, and you get the impression here that he's just going in himself with his machete. You get the feeling that he knows he's probably not coming out alive if he's just dropping all of his stuff and going in. But this is sort of his last stand, isn't it?
It is his last stand. Yeah, this is a track titled Billy's Last Stand. So after Arnold tells him, hey, Billy, let's go, and then quickly gives up on Billy, Billy's track really kicks in with these kind of what I'm describing as dread-filled notes, like horn notes. This kind of low, long notes. This No, there's nothing like heroic about this sacrifice according to the music. There's nothing victorious, nothing noble. It's just
more dread, right? It's kind of dread.
It's much more dread. Yeah.
Well, after that, we just cut back to Anna, kind of crawling, walking through the jungle here, and then pulling the rest of the team along and asking for the weapon to get everyone up and over this log.
Dame el arma. Give me the weapon.
I don't have a whole lot to add about this. This will carry over into the next minute, but that kind of brings us to a close. Did you have anything else to add about this section?
I think it's interesting. Anna clearly trying to help the team now. She's clearly part of the team. She's saying, Dame la arma, dame la arma. When Dutch gives her a grunt, she says, give me the weapon.
Dame el arma. Give me the weapon.
The weapon.
Essentially, she grabs it from Dutch so that he and Panchito can climb the little hill.
Yeah, it's a quick little indication there that you're right. She's just in full-on survival mode with these guys. Like, she feels no fear from them anymore. The only fear to be felt from anybody is from this alien that's stalking them. And so this sort of finalizes what we know, is that they are just all working together now.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice way to, I don't know, to tie the team together in these desperate circumstances. There's a little possible goof in her translation. She's saying Dame la arma. I looked it up to see if she should be saying Dame el arma. And for the singular weapon in Spanish, you would say el arma, but for plural weapons, you would say las armas. I thought that was an interesting little subject. Well, not even
also ties back to Dillon, who lost his Las Arma.
Oh, that's right. The Predator was saying with his weapon, give me your arm.
Give me La Arma.
Give me that La Arma. Give me El Arma right now. Towards the end, I like the little water effect. I don't know. It's another blink and you'll miss it kind of detail, but she's reaching down for the weapon, and there's a rock with water running over it. This is probably a production design kind of thing, and who knows why it's there. But I just like making the environment that more alive. Like, this is a real jungle. Don't forget, here's some running water. Maybe it's foreshadowing with Dutch jumping off the waterfall later. I don't know. That takes some clever planning if that's the direction you're going, with little hints and pieces there. I don't know. Yeah,
it's a cool little shot. Like, you're right. It goes very quick, but there is water running off that rock to the right there when she crawls through. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And it continues through the edit, which is always a sign of someone doing their job really well, is keeping something like running water in play. Let's see. Last thing, I'll talk about the script difference now between what happened originally in the script and then what happens in the movie. In the script, Mac, who goes by Blaine. Mac, who goes by Blaine in the script. He dies after Dillon, who's known as Dixon. Dixon in the script. But in the script, Mac is the one who suffers Dillon's fate after Mac sees Dillon's body. So he kind of switched those roles around in the original script, which includes him losing his arm and then being stabbed in the gut by the Predator. But Dillon who dies beforehand in the script, is killed not by a laser blast, but the Predator just slashing his throat. And in that case, I'm thinking that's more like Hawkins' death by that time.
That's less creative, but
it's less creative because what happens in the script is the Predator just uses the same method every time. It's just stabbing people or hurtling a sharp weapon at people. It's a very similar way of taking people out.
Got it.
Whereas in the movie so far, we've had slash, laser blast.
But it's different.
Stab.
It's like laser blast to the chest, laser blast to the head, laser blast to the arm.
right, exactly.
Yeah. So they mix it up. They mix up the gore effects can change depending on where it hits the body. Right.
I think that's an effect of, or I think that's a circumstance of writing action in a script, is that it's probably really hard to write action scenes that tell a story at all, or that are that interesting. like if you ever read like Lord of the Rings or something like that, like the battle scenes are by far the most boring because like how often do you want to say like this guy hits this guy with the sword, this guy shoots an arrow at this guy? That's really boring to read.
Right.
I would skip over that. But you watch that in the movie, and if it's done creatively, like in this movie, like, oh, I can't take my eyes off it. I want to watch that scene over and over again.
Right.
It's just a different medium is my reasoning. But I think that's all I have for minute 75 if you have nothing left.
I got nothing left. R.I.P. Dillon.
Dillon, thanks for the limerick. Oh, we never talked about Mac and our favorite Mac moments. Do you want to talk about favorite Mac moments next minute?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can do that.
We have a lot coming next minute, by the way. We have possibly 2 other members dying. So that's going to be more memories and limericks and drinking. And it's going to be a heck of a time.
It sounds fun. We can do it. We can do it. All right. So should we jump into recommends? Are we there?
We shall. Recommend away, Jeff.
Well, I was thinking that while we're all quarantined into our homes with our spouses and children, or perhaps by yourself, I want to try to recommend some things that people can watch on popular streaming services. And so I'm going to have kind of a running thing. The next couple of weeks, I'm going to recommend action movies that I find streaming that I have never watched before. And so I curated a good list from Netflix of a bunch of movies I hadn't seen. And the first one that I watched just the other day, it was called Triple Threat, which came out in 2019. And this was great. It was kind of the epitome of a great direct-to-video action movie. This stars Tony Jaa, who is a famous Thai martial artist, actor, action choreographer who's been in and worked on a bunch of great action movies. I'm going to butcher his name, but he's famous for the Raid movies. Iko Uwais? Sorry if I said that wrong, but he's kind of the main guy from the Raid and the Raid 2 and The Night Comes for Us and a bunch of other great Indonesian action movies. He's in it along with Tiger Chen, who's also a very famous Chinese martial artist. And the three of them are just kicking ass in this movie. And then we also get the addition of Scott Adkins, who we all know is one of my favorite direct-to-video action stars. And he plays the bad guy, which is so much fun. Anyway, it's Triple Threat. The plot doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Like, I actually kind of lost track of what the plot was. This movie is just filled with wall-to-wall great action scenes, fight choreography, gun fights. I think there's a couple car chases in there. It's just exactly what I was looking for when I turned this on. I just wanted to lose myself in a great action movie, and I didn't give a shit about the plot, and this was perfect. So check out Triple Threat. It's on Netflix, so it's waiting for you to watch right now. Put it in your queue.
All right, we'll do that.
Mm-hmm. What you got for us today, John?
I've been listening to some podcasts at night, specifically. Yeah, exactly.
You probably, huh?
Yeah. A favorite hobby of mine. Mm-hmm. There's one podcast I've recommended in the past that's We Hate Movies. It's a group of 4 guys. I think they're old college buddies, and they break down movies basically scene by scene, plot point by plot point, but they do so in hilarious fashion. They're just so funny when they break down the movies, and their impressions are top notch, and they just have some great callbacks to seasons long gags that they put on or other characters that they brought up. But specifically, to put a new recommend on it, I would recommend joining their Patreon at the $8 level. I know it sounds weird to plug someone else's Patreon for a podcast, but they have some solid content. There's anything from the breaking down of the new Picard series, episode by episode, which are really entertaining, even though I haven't seen the show. But they also take random characters from Star Wars movies and talk about them for half an hour, 45 minutes. That series is called the Gleep Glossary. They also have a series of movies, a series of movie reviews called We Love Movies on that Patreon feed, where they review movies that they really enjoy, and they basically gush over it while still making fun of the movie, of course, because that's their bread and butter. But what I have to really highly recommend from that $8 level is the series of Twilight movie commentaries they did.
Oh, no.
Because after the first 2 movies, they started doing a power hour for the first hour of the movie. If you're not familiar with a power hour, that is where you drink a shot of beer every 60 seconds or an hour. Really? So the movie just, it's hilarious to hear Steven Sadak saying drink every time. Oh, you're going to have to listen to it. And just like by the time they hit that 45-minute and then past the hour mark, it is just balls to the wall, just yelling, and sometimes maybe like 30% staying on topic with the movie, that they're watching in front of them. It's just so fun.
Wait, did they do this for all the Twilight movies, or you said just like once they
started with the 3rd one, and then they're doing it for the 4th one, and then I'm pretty sure I haven't listened to the 5th one yet, but I almost 100% certain that they're doing the power hour for the 5th one. They're joking around maybe doing a century, but that's just something nuts.
That ends in puking usually.
Yeah.
Did you actually watch the movie while they did it, or did you just listen to the commentary like a podcast?
Just like a podcast, because I'm doing so many things these days, whether it's like cleaning or cooking or working out,
taking care of children.
Yeah, when I'm just taking care of like the little baby, he doesn't seem to have a problem with me listening to a podcast, playing around with him. But I recommend. That's We Hate Movies, the Patreon level, specifically the Twilight Mentaries. They always end their commentaries just with Mentaries, so they're watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They call it the TMNT Mentary, or they just released tonight the Justice League Mentary, and I cannot wait to listen to that, because that's a movie I've actually seen. I know what's going on, but some of the movies I haven't, and it still is just as funny to me, honestly.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, good recommend. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Thanks.
I do like that podcast. I have not listened to it, I don't think, as much as you have, but I know it as a quality movie podcast, and I might have to jump on that Patreon to check it out. It sounds great.
Yeah. It is one of my OG podcasts that I listened to when I first started listening to podcasts back in 2012. There was a handful I started with, and now I'm left with that, with We Hate Movies. Still, I listen to every episode. Another podcast called Now Playing, where they break down movies and like do these big movie retrospectives where they break down all the movies in a certain series.
Yeah, that's good. They're great.
Yeah, so I haven't really missed an episode between those two since 2012, and that's about it. So yeah, high praise to them for keeping my attention and keeping going for, however long. I think each of them is around like the 10 or 11 or 12 year mark of releasing episodes, which is just mind-boggling.
Yeah,
I think we're on
very
year
impressive.
2.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very impressive. Yeah. Good stuff.
Cool, man. So we're done with the recommend. So where can people find you, Jeff?
Oh, well, you can find me on the Twitter sphere, Carl_Hungus 314.
My name is Carl. Ich bin expert.
Come find me there on the Twitter.
I'll find you.
You'll find me. Where can we find Predator Minute these days, John?
Well, you can find Predator Minute online, doing a lot of shoe talk, honestly, because during the day, there's not a whole lot else I'm really interested in checking out online. I know there's a little bit of a coronavirus going around, but
a little bit.
Man, you could just go in circles reading about that and dreading that and fearing that. I'd rather just look at, hey, something to look forward to, and usually that's shoes or other podcasts. I don't know what else, comedy posts, funny posts. You can find that at Predator Minute on the Twitter. You can email the show, predatorminute@gmail.com, or you can join the discussion on Facebook, the Predator Minute listeners.
Palapa! Target the center of the palapa.
Target the center of the palapa.
Targets the center of the palapa.
R.I.P. Dillon.
Dillon.
R.I.P. Dillon. Giving us so many good memories, so many good quotes, and good just good looks. We didn't even talk about just the plethora of looks Dillon has, whether it's, perplexed, whether it's angry,
glistening bicep.
Yeah, being buff. Or just dying in a very confused manner. He brought it all to the table. Thank you, Carl Weathers. Thank you, Dillon.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dillon. Thank you, Carl Weathers.
Dillon!
Rest in peace, my friend.
Rest in peace. So for all things Dillon and
Dillon.
Predator Minute 75, I've been John Zabriskie.
And I am Jeff Glover.
And until next time.
Stick around.
Stick around.
Because some damn fool accused you of being the best.
Because some damn fool accused you of being the best.
Are you pushing too many pencils? That was terrible. Don't use that. I kind of choked on my wine while I was saying that.
What got Billy so spooked?
The CIA got you pushing too many pencils.
CIA got you pushing too many pencils.
What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils? Huh?
That's the keeper. And cut.
Dillon.
Because some damn fool accused you of being the best.
Dillon.
I'm going in with you, Dutch.
Dillon. Dillon.
Never knew how much I missed this, Dutch.
Dillon.
Target's the center of the falafel.
Dillon.
Dutch, on your knife.
Dillon.
Look, we just stopped a major invasion. Dillon! My men were in that chopper when it got hit. Dillon? They did the same thing to Jim Hopper. Damn bastards.
Dillon.
Fucking lizard.
Dillon.
Dillon! Thanks.
Dillon.
You really think this Boy Scout bullshit's gonna work? Hold it, Dutch. I'm going after Mac. Dillon? I see. Dillon! You son of a bitch. What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils? Huh? Had enough? Make it easy on yourself, Dutch. Okay. But did know when to quit, huh? Damn good to see you, Dutch. What is this fucking tie business? Oh, come on. Forget about my tie, man. I heard about that little job you pulled off in Berlin. Very nice, Dutch. Good old days. Yeah, like the good old days.